Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Radio Club Podcast. Today we have with us Mr. Ravi Aarya. He's a marketing professional with more than 25 years of experience navigating the wild world of media, BFSI, consumer tech, and conglomerates. Welcome, Mr. Aarya, to the Radio Club.
First question we have is a long and diverse career in marketing. What are three most important things you've learned about the landscape?
Hi, Radhika. First and foremost, thanks so much for having me. It's wonderful to interface with you and all at ISB. A lot of energy, a lot of uh, fresh blood. I think that's great to interface with. Mm, I think over 25 plus years that I've been in marketing and revenue roles, a few things that really have stood out for me, learnings for me. One is it's in fact, India is evolving, and so are businesses, and marketing definitely is a subset of that. So I think you need to be constantly on the move. You need to be constantly in a state of evolution. You can't ever be still waters. You need to be receptive to change, evolve. That is one very important thing. Second is the adoption of technology. From time to time, it's been different technology. At a point in time, I started working when we had a computer with very basic facilities. Internet was very primitive to where it is ubiquitous. So no matter what time period, and who knows, 3 years, 5 years down the road, what shape of technology we see, from artificial intelligence to possibly agentic AI doing a lot more stuff. Second is receptiveness to technology, adopting it, mastering it. That's very important. And thirdly, at the heart of it, at marketing, it's largely about the consumer. It doesn't matter you're talking about, depending on what brand you are, who is your audience. There could be various cohorts you need to address, from families to elderly to youths to Gen Z to Gen X. You need to be very, very familiar with the needs, wants, desires, motivation of your audience. Unless you are clear on that and you are addressing that in the right and unique manner, I think that otherwise armchair management, you're sitting in your comfortable air-conditioned office, figment of your imagination and secondary knowledge, you are developing some stuff. It may not cut ice, it may not resonate with the audience. So I think these are the few things that have stood out for me, have been my learnings over the career that I've had.
Well, a great summary for marketing students like us. So we were talking about changing times, the change in the environment. So considering the current consumer market, which is extremely dynamic, and trends come and go every next day, how do brands do constant and consistent messaging?
See, it's not about de-stunning. If I talk about my father's time, I talk about my time, or if it is going to be 10, 15, 20 years, my children's time, who are going to be in corporate world and working, it is always about it. Change is the only constant. It has always happened. Current change has its own nuances. So was there in the past. So will be there in the future. I would say there are two important considerations, depending on which is a brand. And I can illustrate through some examples. There are always gold standards, brands who do swell job and impress us. And they always are a good case study use cases too. At one end is what is the brand or a corporation which has a product and therefore has a brand is trying to communicate. What is the agenda? At the other end of the spectrum is a consumer who is going to buy that product or service. For instance, if I talk about, and some rules Simon has said, if I talk about Red Bull at the end of the day is an energy drink. But they have very smartly, and it's a global case study, positioned themselves on the plank of energy and taken it to a different level. And they've spoken about, and they've done initiatives like the free fall from space. They do extreme sports from motor racing to ice hockey, skiing, and extreme at that, so on and so forth. They have events, IPs, properties to bring alive the proposition of energy. They even have a media network where they create very high quality content that you can consume, not very staid, poor quality, super high quality. They have television channels, digital channels. So here is a brand called Red Bull. Now, they are trying to sell. I'm not an expert. I haven't worked for the brand, but I'm just a admirer of that brand. They are trying to cater to various cohorts, I like to believe. And there are very, very many media avenues. They need to be consistent. They need to identify who is the cohort. Many a times they will tailor make, and many a times it's a consistent thing that we cut across. Does energy cut across, let us say, a teenager, someone in their 20s, someone in their 30s? Yes. Does an event, now you may be someone like what we say in the digital space that I can target basis interests. They will target basis interest. Here is someone who's into motor racing. I connect with the person over there. Here is someone who's into skiing. I connect over there. And they're using these product placement and opportunities to sell over there as well. So, as I said, at one end of the spectrum is a corporation, product, and a brand. And what are they trying to achieve? They, at the end of the day, are trying to sell a product or a service.
Yeah.
At the other end of the spectrum is a consumer. There'll be various sets of consumer. A smart brand will not make too many changes. Tries to identify a universal proposition, like in the case of Red Bull, it's energy. Of course, there are various events, IPs, properties, initiatives they have. But the unified thing is energy. And they will customize to an extent. It doesn't become a different proposition. Let me take another example. Close to home. And again, I've been an admirer. Cadbury's Dairy Milk. I remember when I was interviewed way back in early 2000, my then boss asked me at the interview table, and I use as an example, I said, Cadbury's Dairy Milk, at the end of the day, at a business level, is trying to take a share of the very large sweets market in India. Indians have a fetish for sweets. We go to the mithai wala, no matter which part of the country. Festive, non-festive, occasion, kuch meetha ho jaye, is a very common thing. That's such a large pie you create into it. If my data is correct, it's close to the organized and unorganized sweets market, 1.5 lakh crores in India and evolving. The sweets market is much smaller. It's 10 to 20,000 crores as per some data points. Now, Cadbury Dairy Milk has a business agenda of growing their sales. They, way back in 1990s, took across this proposition, this business agenda. The product, the brand followed suit. It's a business agenda they're driving. And they have reached out to various consumer cohorts, various opportunities where they can drive this proposition and drive the sales agenda. For instance, I remember a few, even some very unique cases. One is festive. I think 15, 20 years back, sweets was a staple thing that was, gifted during festivals. And India is a country of festivals. Starting August to December, you have sold a festival, no matter which part of the country you are. It was sweets that were gifted. Today, gifting a chocolate is commonplace. It's taken time, but just imagine the business volume, they have taken from the sweets category. Festive is one opportunity they've taken. They even ran some occasions like salary mini hai, mauka hai, kuch meetha ho jaye. It was a very interesting campaign they ran. Appu pass ho gaya. Humor state. They said, boss, you got some achievement which is dear to you. Chocolate ho jaye. So various consumer segments, various occasions, it's driving a very clear business agenda to, rather than sweets, have a chocolate. And they've been able to make very rapid strides in business volume, in mind share, in trust. That's another example. I can go on and on. But to answer your question, it's about consistency. It's about the business agenda, based on which a product and various sort of products are developed, based on which a brand positioning, basis which there is a brand at one end, consumer at the other end, and you build a bridge to connect with the consumer. Preferably, you do it at an emotional level. All the examples I've taken, two examples I've taken, be it Red Bull or be it Cadbury's Dairy Milk, and there are so many more, have connected with the consumer at an emotional level, not at a functional or rational level. And I think the consumer is very well reciprocated to that. And in the process, the business agenda of revenue, sales, market share has got driven, and marketing has aided in achievement. And this for a very long, I'm talking about a few decades of use cases.
Yes. So we talked about consistent messaging. What are the new channels, futuristic channels, which excite you the most?
See, it's again dependent on who is the audience one is talking to. I remember in my previous stint when I was in a startup in co-living, and my mandate was to drive online communities, one of the mandate, where we say, hey, listen, this particular bullseye 21-year-old, because we were talking to college graduates who were our residents and young professional first jobbers. Bullseye 21 years old are big time into gaming. And if I integrate online community, we said Discord is a very viable channel. We build community on Discord and we have moderators from them. We have events, we had content creations, we had entire framework around online community on a channel called Discord. So depending who am I talking to, now that was a particular audience, particular agenda, that particular Discord, for instance, made a lot of sense. And of course, the play out would happen on a lot of other, we had an in-house app, we had, other social avenues where it was also played out. So the stack was very clear based on who is the audience. So it is not one size fit all. It is not a cookie cutter approach. It is dependent on, what is the particular brand and a product, which are the cohorts. There will be a mixed play. For instance, a large conglomerate, and there are so many in India, would want to appeal depending on who they are, cross section of audience. Like in marketing, we want to have a bullseye, like a Pepsi talks to a 19-year-old. That's so bullseye, so sharp. Not every time it's possible to define a bullseye, but that's an ideal. And one must have a bullseye target audience. Everything becomes very clear. But there are times you are not able to define such a sharp bullseye audience. Then there will be various cohorts. You will need to look at, if I'm looking at families, this is their media mix. These are the avenues they go to. If I'm looking at, let's say, DINGs, doubling income, kids, young couples, this is the media vehicles they go after. If I'm looking at teenagers, it may be a completely different set. So what excites me is not my choice or my product or a brand choice. It's about what agenda am I driving, who are my cohorts, and what media they are consuming. But without doubt, and I, even in my current role, drive digital, there is no two ways about it. The offline world is shifting to digital. There are so many data points which speak about 2.5 hours being spent on the mobile a day. Social media consumption is huge. YouTube apparently has overtaken television. There are very many stats, information that points to that. Talk about people who are listening to India at large. I think we are spending more time on YouTube than on television. So definitely the digital universe, be it social media handle, Instagram and YouTube and WhatsApp, in my mind, tool. And again, every medium will have a specific agenda because sometimes I can drive visibility through certain channels. Sometimes I can engage through certain other channels. Sometimes I can drive a response through certain other channels. It's about how conducive is a particular channel amenable to a particular task. So it will always be a suite of media for a broader agenda, unless I'm just doing a specific agenda and I figure out one or two media touch points. So it isn't a straight answer to your question you may have expected. Uh, it is complex, depending on your brand and your specific agenda. And of course, it is never that my campaign, so to say, is for a specific time period. I'm doing planning for this year. That's my annual operating plan. I will plan for the subsequent. I'll plan. There are sometimes long range plans, 3 years or 5 years. And we are many a times also saying that, hey, listen, this is this year agenda. This is how I move forward progress in the year 2, year 3. This is the share I will gain. This is the share of mind, share of awareness, share of media, share of wallet. It would be specific agendas. But if I have to pinpoint, definitely, I think digital is a very viable medium. But of course, you can't lose sight of television either, because from a visibility, from the mass reach, there are 900 million users of television, depending on what brand you are. If you're an FMCG brand like a Dabur or a Levers, you want to reach out to tier 3, tier 4 India. There are 6.5 lakh villages. You want to reach out to that audience. Your media mix is going to be slightly different. You want to reach out to the urban, highly evolved, niche audience. Yes, you can purely go on to digital, and depending on what your agenda is. So slightly long answer to your short question, but I don't think there's a straight answer. There are so many variables. The media mix is complex. Your specific agenda, your time period, your audience, nuances, consumer behavior of that audience. And therefore, you arrive at a suite of media, what works. There are nonetheless newer avenues emerging all the time. Gaming is promising. Podcast is promising.
Yeah.
2 years back, it hit an inflection point, I'm told. And we are exploring, to be honest, possibly in the next 3 to 4 months. I'm looking at even launching a podcast series. We are working on it actively. Podcast, it is interesting. Not many brands have taken advantage of it in the right manner. There are experiments that are happening. Most of the podcasts are largely individual led. The big ones, Raj Shamari, Nikhil Kamarat, whoever you take are very individual, personality driven. Have brands really made a go of it? Not to the extent they could. Podcast is an interesting space. You media you're talking about. Gaming is interesting. It's growing by leaps and bounds. But how can a brand be relevant in that environment where the gamer is largely there for fun? Will he engage with the brand? But that's true even for Instagram, even for other different touch points. Gaming is interesting. So I think podcasts and gaming in particular are newer avenues where there are some use cases, but is it that these are mediums which brands can adopt at a very large scale and see benefits? Some bit of this.
Thank you, sir. This was very interesting to know about gaming and podcast as a new upcoming marketing channel. So I just want to ask. You say your motto is mind and hand. Can you elaborate it for us, please?
In Latin, it's Menet Anus. So I'd gone for my mid-career study at MIT Sloan, and that's their motto. And I really do believe in it. It simply means mind and hand. There is either you're a strategist or you are an operating person. But I think the best people are the one who blend them with two. Startups teach you all the time. You have to hustle, you have to roll up your sleeve and hit the ground running. And I think even when I've worked with Indian corporates, Indian MNCs, large conglomerates. It's a myth that, hey, listen, you just need to go slow. There are systems, processes, you just need to comply. You're a cog in the wheel. There is so much hustle. You need to even, go by over there. So it's largely to say, hey, you think and you execute. So you're a strategist. You're thinking about the strategy. You are laying out the larger framework approach, and you're not passing it on to someone. मैंने ये कर लिया, अब तुम execute करो. You yourself and through your teams are executing it. So I think the best managers are someone who have a blend of mind and hand, who are thinking, always evolving, thinking about a strategic framework and the strategy in mind, and also ensuring that you execute it. Because trust you me, my career has told me the best of the strategies on paper, unless executed, we are strategies. There's a common saying, uh, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So, you may have the best strategy on paper, but unless you execute, it's lost in the wilderness. So that's what it largely is, mind at hand.
Moving towards the end of it. So, three advice you would give young professional marketers who are entering into the landscape after B school.
A, I think it's important to have clarity of mind, because it doesn't matter what career stage you are, you're a beginner or you're the CEO. I think the best of the managers and leaders are someone who are able to wade through the clutter, make sense of the madness, and give a crystal clear, sharp view. So I think one is clarity of thought. That's very important. Second, I would say is be a solution-oriented guy, because there are too many problems, no matter what person space or profession space. Someone who says, hey, listen, I offer the solution. In my team or any manager would love to have a person who gets his or her hands dirty and say, I'll solve it for you. Third is be amenable, have the right attitude, and be super curious. They are different facets of the same thing. These are three things I would say a good manager, a good leader should exemplify, should imbibe, should display. I think that should be good.
Thank you. Last question. So we are in end of August and we have placements coming up in 2 months, and there is a stress environment at the campus. What is one candid, life advice you would give us?
Well, I can understand, placement time, finding the right job is everybody's priority. That's why people are in this. I think India is huge. India today is currently $4 trillion economy approx. Depending on the rate of growth, 6, 7, 8%. There are various theories which say by 2050, which is not, it seems a little less than 25 odd years, but all the graduates entering in the corporate arena will have a longer career span than 25 years. They're at least 30 to 40 years in the corporate setup, India or globally. I'm just talking India for now. People will have international careers. So 4 trillion, depending on the rate of growth, to 25 or 50 trillion by various schools of thoughts by 2050, 25 years is massive. It's massive. We can't imagine it becoming 6 to 10x. We can't imagine. And it is not, I'm painting a rosy picture. You can do your elementary math, school level mathematics, 6 to 7 to 8%. It will reach there, and India will grow at that level, maybe more. That's what. So I think the opportunity is large. So if you have a long-term view, you will not get nervous. You're entering, and all the them, and in the too many economists, business leaders, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Google, you can go to Gemini, Perplexity, ChatGPT, whatever is your the right thing that you research on. There is the right demographics. India's median age 29. India is the youngest country in the world. 65% of our GDP is consumption. That's why we are largely insulated to geopolitics, geoeconomics. So the opportunity is large, which is what I'm pointing at. So any manager, leader, or professional who has a little larger perspective shouldn't feel nervous. That's point one. There's a large ocean you're trying to, there is enough for everyone. That is one thing that possibly should calm your nerves. Point two, feel confident. You are here at ISB because there is a filter ISB has put various criteria from education to interviews, aptitude that they feel that you're the right person. And that is why the right companies come over here because they know that there is quality talent over there. So feel confident. Have self-confidence. And the reason you reached here, you will go far. So second is have self-confidence on your abilities. Third and final, I would say be original. Everybody is unique. I don't have to be you. You don't have to be me. There are certain qualities and traits in me that will take me far. Same for you. So be original. Understand what are your strengths, what are your key areas you want to play on, have your own playbook, and just bring that to life. So I think my suggestion to the young Turks is it's a great opportunity out there. And even if you're going out of India, the global economy also has so many tailwinds and headwinds. Depending on the sector, the world is growing. There are so many sunrise growth companies and economies. So feel confident on these three fronts. I don't think, I'll not say it'll be a cakewalk, but you will feel super confident.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the
Lovely, Ranika. Thanks so much. I've enjoyed having this conversation with you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.